Sitting on city council in Houston every year before the Martin Luther King Jr. parade, there would be the warring factions, and this goes on across the country, of folks that wanted to be the exclusive Martin Luther King Jr. parade. There's big money in this parade business. I would argue that the parade organizers, who make a lot of money off of this, are not in the business of trying to ensure that the MLK legacy is preserved and they somehow think the other side won't do a good job. No, that's not what this is about. In fact, it's not about Martin Luther King's legacy, and it's, the hero worship of an individual is not a particularly healthy thing. But what we do is we look for role models, historical role models, because in so doing, I think particularly for young people, they can look up to someone and aspire to an ideal. And if in fact that's the reason we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, then shouldn't we celebrate the message and not the man? We're not trying to replace some Christ-like figure. We're not trying to create another religion. We're not trying to saint any individual. Shouldn't it be about the message? Isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that what he represented? And if in fact that's what he represented, then why is it that the people who hijack the MLK events, why is it the people who are going to be quoted on the news today, like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, use language and ideas that are the exact opposite of what was being offered at the time? Because it's easy. See, if you're a news station, you just on the morning of a day like this, you do a shot of the MLK parade. You find as many black people as you can. And I know it's crass to say, but it's true. That's how these newsrooms work. And I'm not even faulting them for it. You find a way to show blacks in your audience. See, we love black people. That's what we're doing. We're covering this event. Look at us, follow us, watch us. We love black people. And let's have somebody on to talk about the MLK legacy. Let's find the most liberal, extreme, black nationalist black person we can find. And that's what we do. And if you're a white news director, you figure, well, I don't know anything. I don't know about black people. Get Jesse on. He'll come on. And get Al Sharpton, too, and find a community activist. But is that really what we should be teaching young people? Should we really be teaching young people about the most extreme elements of the black nationalism movement when Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't part of that? In fact, there were alternatives to Martin Luther King Jr. during his life who were preaching black nationalism that morphed through the church into black nationalism theology. That's what Jeremiah Wright preaches. That group of people were around when Martin Luther King Jr. was alive, and they hated him. He was a sellout Uncle Tom to them, and they said as much. Had he not been assassinated, his legacy would not be what it is today, because you wouldn't have had 100% black support for canonizing him. There tends to be that. And his legacy was changed dramatically to be, as Cesar Chavez came to be for Hispanics, what non-black people celebrated as a way of showing, I like black people. I'm not a racist. But if we're going to do that, and if he's going to be the chosen one, you're going to leave everyone else out in the body of influence, whether it be the civil rights movement or representing the black experience, if you're going to leave everybody else out, which we've needed to do in order to coalesce behind one. See, there's almost a zero-sum game. We can't build up Martin Luther King Jr. and build up all these other people. So what we necessarily had to do was silence any coverage of anyone else in order to lift him up to where he needed to be. Every town has a Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Every town has one. Well, I kind of find it disturbing that young black people don't see anyone other than this one supposed black leader. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Oh, why wouldn't there be more? Why wouldn't there be different ones? If we're going to decide as a city council, we're going to name a street after a famous black guy, why is it always going to be that one black? Who chose that? I don't actually have a problem, because some of the alternatives that would be offered, I would find to be somewhat disturbing, frankly. People that would be canonized whose message is not something I would hope we would teach young black people about. In speaking 6 months before he was assassinated, Martin Luther King was at Barrett Junior High in Philadelphia, October 26, 1967. And he gave a message that I don't ever hear anyone say to young black people. I hear a message of victimization, give me what's mine, you're the descendant of slaves, white people are horrible. That's not what MLK taught. Let's be accurate. Let's be bold enough to be accurate. The problem is, the only person who can make that statement is a black person. Anyone else will be marginalized as being racist, and most people are too spineless to say it. By saying what I've just said today, I'll get 50 emails or text messages from blacks in the media, bloggers, pastors, you name it, saying, man, you are absolutely right, Michael. You were on point with that. But not one of them will stand up and say it publicly, because they will be marginalized. So if what I'm saying is resonating with folks, why don't more folks say it, if in fact it's true? Because there has been a dominant, we use the term Nazi, but you can call it whatever you want. There has been a tight control over messaging in the public forum with regard to things like this in order to control the message 100%. If you're an educator, if you volunteer in schools, if you speak to young people, whether they're black or not, in addition to the I Have a Dream speech, I'm going to give you a speech that I hope you'll read to them that doesn't get a lot of coverage, but it should. It's Martin Luther King, some of his best words.